With the 47th overall pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Toronto Raptors selected David Johnson out of the University of Louisville. As many people thought the Raptors would draft a big man or at least something other than a guard with this pick, the team decided that another guard was the play at pick 47. David Johnson is a 6'5", 210-pound combo guard that was a sophomore coming into the draft. At just 20 years old, Johnson brings a lot of potential on both the offensive and defensive ends, and to be quite honest, Johnson to me feels like he can be one of the steals in the draft in a couple of years after he develops with the team. In this video, I will be going over exactly why the Toronto Raptors drafted David Johnson with the 47th overall pick, and exactly what he brings to the table as a prospect for the Raptors. But before I do that, I just wanted to mention that if you do enjoy this type of Raptors content and analysis, please hit that like and subscribe button, as the support will help this channel grow and become more consistent. I do know I am a newer channel on YouTube, but I appreciate any of the support that I can get, as it truly means a lot. Now, I personally feel like since the Raptors have an overflow of guards for this upcoming season, and it looks as if Johnson won't be able to get that much playing time, if any playing time at all in the NBA, and the same could be said for Delano Banton. That, however, is not of concern at all for Johnson, as he did sign a two-way contract with the team and will most likely spend most of the season to develop with the Raptors 905. Like I mentioned before in my previous videos, the 905 have a tremendous development team that have developed many former Raptors that have either already departed or are still on the team. The Raptors 905 are a G League team that seems to have a different outlook than other teams in the G League, starting with the fact that the two-way players on the Raptors get to spend plenty of time with both squads, as the 905 are located just outside of Toronto and Mississauga. Sometimes the 905 even play some of their home games in the Scotiabank Arena, which is the home of the Raptors, and sometimes even practice in the same facility. Since the team is also just a short drive away, we have seen Raptors players play a G League game in the morning, then drive down to Toronto to suit up with the Toronto Raptors that evening. Albeit they most likely won't be playing in the game at night, but still. So getting time with the 905 is possibly the closest thing to playing in the NBA while still developing by getting minutes in the G League, which is why getting a guy like Johnson to develop him may be very fortunate for the team. As I know, the team drafted him with the sight of holding him under development for a couple of years before he gets to see the light of the NBA. Now, on to the strengths of David Johnson. Last year for Louisville, David Johnson averaged 12.6 points, 5.8 rebounds, 3.2 assists, 1.1 steals, and shot the ball 38.6% from 3 on 4.4 attempts per game. Looking at those numbers, they look very solid for a 20-year-old coming into his rookie season, and I will be going over what his game consists of. For starters, Johnson is an absolutely relentless finisher around the basket because of his size and strength, as he is a 210-pound guard that has an incredible 6'10" wingspan for his height of just 6'5". Johnson is also incredibly athletic, which allows him to go up against bigger defenders at the rim and even catch the occasional lob from time to time. Matched with his playmaking ability, Johnson relies on screens to get past his defender and excels at either drawing the extra defender in on him in the paint and then kicking it out for three, playing the pick and roll, or simply drawing the contact from the defender and going up strong with it. David Johnson is also a decent three-point shooter that has been proving year over year, shooting almost 39% from 3 last year. Most of his threes were open shots, but nonetheless, if he's open and hitting them, that is a massive bonus as you become forced to guard his shot. Offensively, David Johnson is also extremely good in the post against guards because of his size and footwork. This is something that is going to be interesting to see if it translates to the next level, as the size of the players obviously get bigger than those from college. His high scoring IQ also allows him to be a very strong off-ball player, as he was able to get a lot of his points on Louisville from off-ball motion plays. On top of his offensive game, because of his size, he was also a very solid rebounder and defender in college, as he was able to play and defend against multiple positions that sometimes saw Johnson covering power forwards last season. As much as his strengths seem very strong, the reasons as to why he was not a top prospect coming into the draft and instead a second-round pick was because he has plenty of things he needs to work on before becoming even a rotational NBA player. David Johnson needs to become a much more efficient scorer, as he just shot the ball over 41% from the field last season. Yes, he has the skills to score the ball in the NBA. His decision making, however, needs plenty of work, as at times Johnson would be taking very contested jump shots or even drove into multiple defenders in the lane when he could have had much more success passing the ball to a teammate. Johnson also needs plenty of work on his shot in general, as he isn't much of a natural shooter. His career free throw percentage is just 65%, and most of the threes he made for Louisville came off of wide open shots. Something that he really struggled with as a guard was his turnover rate. Johnson averaged just as many turnovers last season as he did assists, which is definitely a massive red flag for him. His decision making is definitely of biggest concern for Johnson, as it sort of shows that he can be awfully careless with the ball, which is why he gives up so many turnovers. We can definitely see that David Johnson is a player with potential that has the proper size to go with it, and I think him deciding to go straight in the NBA just after 2 seasons was decided so he could develop and polish his game to become more NBA ready from NBA development rather than developing in college. David Johnson is a very raw prospect that is going to need plenty of time, but the Raptors see the potential that he brings to the floor and believe that with their development team, he can hopefully one day maximize his potential with the Raptors and begin to play with the team in a few years. Overall, you can tell the Raptors have been searching for a guard that can be a part of the future of this team with the draft picks they've acquired. Only time will tell just how good David Johnson is going to be, although I do believe he is in some of the best hands when it comes to his development down the line. Second round picks are a lot harder to analyze because they are very much wildcards on how they're going to perform in the NBA, if they even make it at all, since they have a lot of work to do before playing at the next level consistently. But I hope you all enjoyed the analysis of David Johnson as a prospect in this video. And if you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and even subscribe if you want to keep watching Raptors content like this that I've been putting out. Please let me know what you guys think of the Raptors drafting David Johnson as a prospect down below in the comment section. Thank you all and have a great night.